Okay, so this is my setup for the Battle of Elasa. This is Judah's last stand. He's essentially lost the support of most of the Jews. He has a small band, including his brothers, some 800 men. He had about a few thousand, but most of them deserted when they saw the odds they were facing. The reason he doesn't have the whole support of the Jewish people at this point is really because the religious freedoms were guaranteed essentially by the Seleucids, and maintaining an independent country didn't seem so vital compared to their religious needs. So, given that the high priest and all were willing to accept the compromise situation, it was much harder to evoke the kind of response in the people that had been happening earlier in the wars against the Seleucids. So, we've got what really is a blowout here. A small band of really outstanding medium infantry, slingers. Interesting combination there. Facing, from what I can tell, according to the description from Maccabees, how this is supposed to be set up, kind of, using, once again, this Inocephaly map, because it stands well, having some rough terrain in it. Now, the goal here is for the Jews to strike the Seleucid right flank and destroy it. That was what happened historically, and then the left flank was able to turn on them and finish them off from behind. We'll see. Hey, maybe these units, and with one leader each, are good enough to be able to fight their way through. I don't think so. But there's a lot less cav here. We back down to 7 cav that we had in the prior earlier scenarios. The one last scenario gave a big force with a mixture with the more cav, heavier cav, elephants, chariots, everything you can get. Well, here we're back at that normal size army, but it's not a surprise situation, and the Jews do not have anywhere near the forces. You know, this is what they don't have, right? All right. So this is the end of the Seleucid movements. Managed to get most of the right flank moving. The left flank, they've moved into column. I've only got one with a column marker on it. And they're pushing forward to try to get some greater speed that way. Trying to decide what to do with my Jews at this point. I mean, clearly an attack doesn't make sense. We've seen how that kind of works out. I'd kind of like to, instead of matching strength with strength, or strength with something, actually avoid the strong point of the enemy. Sort of the opposite of what historically supposedly happened, and slip over to try to deal with these phalanx units that are now in column. Make them deploy. Kind of try to force the Seleucids to keep switching their operations. I have infinite mobility with my troops. So to start things off, I took Johann and drove off, I think that is, no, that's Jonathan, and drove off the high ground. Single march, second march, picked up an extra fatigue point on everything, then recovered that on the second momentum. Now I can start bringing my other leaders forward and moving the troops again and recovering them again with each leader, which should be able to really just run across the battlefield without any problem at all. Like I said, infinite mobility. It's like a friction point game after the opponent's taken all his actions. Well, now you can set yourself up and do exactly what you wanted to do. There's a cost, but in this, less so because of the recovery mechanism. And after the attacks, and they went all the way across the board and launched multiple attacks under Judah. Boom. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4 phalanxes just destroyed. Just like that. Now, what is the tactical quality limit of this original army. Because there's no winning this scenario according to the way the rules are written. The army doesn't break. But let's see what we've got here. We've got 12, 24, 36, 48 points. I don't think the army was that small. At which one are we using? We're using, I think, Beth Zuer's army. I don't remember where the number is. Victory conditions. There we go. Army route level. 46. What did I say I had? 48. This army's routed. I'm going to chalk this one up as a Judean win again. This matches, this particular army, if it's got the same values as that one, has just been routed off the map. A quick strike all the way across the board at some of the weakest elements, those in-column phalanxes. Was that a mistake? Obviously. I wasn't expecting to be struck like that. But that's how powerful a few units with really good leaders are. Anyway, I'm going to load this one up. We'll chalk this up for yet another Judean victory. And like I said, you know, these little exceedingly good forces, would they have been in trouble? That's even hard to say. I mean, let's say the Seleucids could turn around and march back. What are the actual victory conditions for this damn thing? I mean, because let's say 48 isn't good enough. Let's see what we've got here. If you play this thing out, you should play until all of the Judean units are eliminated or routed off the map. And this should be a foregone conclusion. Alright, let's keep playing. What the hell? I mean, I wasn't counting on getting an automatic victory just by knocking those guys out. I think I've gotten at least a moral victory, though, by doing that. The question, of course, is whether 800 guys charging up and hitting you there and knocking those units off the map would be enough to just disrupt the entire army. But alright, we'll play some more. So presuming that the army can't be broken, and there's no indication in the rules for this scenario that it can, but every other scenario does, and it is the same army as the other battle. We did see it broken by those rules, but now we're seeing the Seleucids being able to come in and get their hits in, and they've already knocked out two of the 4 units. It's really tough at this point for the Jews to manage anything. And now their units aren't even in command. The commanders are all back here. They're going to have to try to figure out some way to get their units into command to do anything. It's really, they're just going to be wiped out. And that's historically what happened. And I think probably this kind of situation just doesn't play out well with the army route rules. A small force like that could make a great deal of headway, could do enough damage to have broken the army if it was facing something significant, but would the army necessarily break? And maybe not here. Yeah, historically, they did break a wing. Well, you just can't count them out yet. I was able to slip a leader around the back and trace a line of command, use one unit to make an attack, breaking through. Eventually, multiple attacks were made with other leaders from that unit, just resurrecting them and bringing them back. Smacked the cav out of the way, just drove everything out of the way, and we're back in place with our two commands and our two units left. A lot of the Seleucids routing. At this point, the army probably would actually break. Seeing that kind of heroism, I don't know. They might begin to think that these are invincible. Of course, the fact that they did take a couple of them out, they're obviously not completely so. Alright, well, let's pull some of those Seleucids off and see what the count is. I wasn't keeping count before. We were at like 48, I think, before. And we got quite a bit more coming. So that works out to another, what, 12, 13, 14, 18, 22, 26 more hits. They're up around 74. You know, I don't know how much more they can take, to tell you the truth. Especially from so few units. But, well, it's kind of interesting to see just how much damage a couple of really outstanding units can do. I might, especially with so much leadership, I might actually be trumping in to try to roll that damage over more. Now, that prevents the damage from being as lasting. The whole point is the fact that the Jewish leaders went last meant that the Seleucid units had kind of a problem in that all their leaders had already gone, so they routed off the map. But what happens if we run away at this point? Run back into the hills. You think the army's going to come after him? I don't know. But with all that leadership, it's quite possible to get out of there with everything without any problem. This is really kind of a silly scenario, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. Having decided the only possible way to wipe out the Jews is using my cav. I moved them forward in a line into position, preparing for next turn's attack. Also recovered this one, just trying my best. But then Gorgias managed to line up a flank attack with this light infantry and the phalanx hitting one, and actually routed one of those units. Now, yeah, it'll recover, but that means that unit can't attack this turn. So that's kind of cool, because otherwise I'm probably going to lose at least one more phalanx, probably both of them on the edge there. And it's just, you know, hard to swing these guys around and get them into place. So, I don't know, that's definitely an advantage there, but I've still got one guy who can actually do all that. Lost one light cav to a rally attempt. Alright, hopefully this will be over soon. And yeah, the cav is the necessity, because nothing else gets a pursuit. And unfortunately it's all light cav, so it may not get a pursuit. It's pretty likely not to. But it's just too easy to rally these things and bring them back, and the Seleucids have no chance to rally. So what do we got? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That guy's gone. This guy's gone. Another phalanx is gone. I mean, at this point, this army would break. There's no question. I'm left with, you know, no understanding of why these Seleucids would still be here. But if there's an army break rule, the Jews are going to win this one. And I think they're going to win it every time. Let's see what we got. Another 24... 33, 36 points? Oh no, 35 points, because that's a skirmisher. Ooh. There's only so much punishment an army can take before, you know, it just collapses no matter what. And I think that point has been far exceeded in this battle. I think at this point they'd be looking at these as supermen. Anyway, the rules don't allow for an army break though, so we'll clear this and see if the cav can finish them off. Well, the cav doesn't absolutely need to finish them off. As shown here, the Jews made a roll to trump in and try to rally this unit. Well, they failed, and now they don't have another chance to do so before this unit gets destroyed, and there could be a cav attack on this one as well. Only problem, it goes to this guy. He's not exactly in the best position for this, but we'll see. Well, they managed to wipe that one unit out, and with this other unit pinned by the cav, even if there's an action, he's not able to get out of the way of that cav. I think it is all over at this point. Just have to sweep in and hit him with enough units to break him. And once he's broke him, hit him with one more. Of course, there's a possibility of a rally in there. That could throw a monkey wrench in it all. And finally, and all we have is a couple of leaders left who will be hunted down. But it really took not just surrounding him with pieces and hitting him. But just a really, really tough situation, and I still contend that that Seleucid army would have broken under that kind of pressure. And this is what's so disappointing, because this is sort of my last look at SPQR probably in a long time. I'm going to end up bagging it up. I've gotten through all the scenarios I've wanted to. This whole series, the Hammer of God series, those Jewish counters make it unbelievable. And what we just saw here is kind of unbelievable. And it just, the whole scenario, the whole set of scenarios, I feel like those units should have been just a little bit less valuable. They should have been 8s across the board, maybe. No 9s. 9s are ridiculous. But even 8s across the board is enough to just wade through most armies. You can see what the Numidian cav can do to a Roman army. Well, these infantry aren't quite at that level because they don't have that mobility. But with all those leaders, wow. You know, basically, what I feel Mark Herman's saying with this scenario is those Maccabeans were pretty much the best fighters that ever existed. You know, up there at whatever you want to put. That this was the kind of force, this small force, that could have routed a 1,000,000-man army, you know? Well, it didn't happen that way. It didn't. They had to fight in bad terrain. They had to use all the advantages they had. But when we see they charge forward, and just a couple of them are taking on enormous odds, and really they won the battle as far as I'm concerned, there's no way that Seleucid army would have held out that long. Anyway, it's been a long road. I'm kind of sad that this is the last look that I have of it, but I have a couple other scenarios I haven't played. I just don't want to dig them out. You know, there were ones that maybe I found online, but had passed by already. Just not printing out from say, the Punic Wars or something. And I don't know where I'm going next. I really don't. I'm going to spend a decent amount of today bagging this, though. All right, let's load this one up.